Hi, this is Rick Schumacher. I'm President and CEO of Pressure BioSciences. We're on the OTCQB. Stock symbol is PBIO. That's Pressure Bio, PBIO. I want to thank you all for taking the time today to join us and learn a little bit about Pressure BioSciences. We have a very exciting company. We've hit an inflection point in the last year, and we're very excited about things and the way they're going, and appreciate again your time coming. First of all, before I start, forward-looking statements, just please remember that some of what I say today might be considered forward-looking statements, so please do your diligence before moving forward in case you are thinking about investing in our company. Who are we? We are a company located a little bit south of Boston. We sell products that are all related to our pressure cycling technology. This pressure cycling technology is, in its simplest form, uses of cycles of pressure to control molecules. All biological samples in nature have a pressure point. You can open up a virus, you can kill a bacterium, you can manipulate how a reaction occurs in the lab by using pressure. We've never really used pressure, especially high pressure, in the past in the laboratory, because until we came along, no one's really been able to develop an instrument that could safely bring high pressure into the lab. And when I'm talking about high pressure, I'm talking about pressures that go from 1,000 pounds per square inch up to 100,000 pounds per square inch. So this is extremely high pressure. But again, remember, all molecules, all substances, all biological substances in nature have a pressure point where they can be manipulated. We are really using this technology called pressure cycling technology, or PCT, in the life sciences area. And in that area, we're particularly focused in the area of the biopharma companies. And in that area, we're particularly focused in the area of sample preparation. It's a very critical part of the research process. Think about 500,000 researchers in 80,000 labs around the world, and they're studying cells and viruses and bacteria and animal, plant, human microbes. They're looking for cures. They're looking for vaccines, the next preventive strategy. The way we get to that is by opening up these cells and releasing the molecules inside, the DNA, RNA, protein, and the lipids and other molecules, and studying these to determine what causes a disease, what can prevent a disease, why does someone not respond to certain therapy, why do some people get very progressive disease while others don't. We get these answers by studying the molecules inside the cells. We break cells open to get to these molecules the same way pretty much that I broke cells 30 years ago when I was in the lab. We use harsh chemical methods, we use harsh mechanical methods. We spin the cells with little beads that break them, called a bead beater. We use blades, knife blades, to chop and homogenize. We use harsh chemicals to break. What Pressure BioSciences does is we basically put them in a pressure chamber. We put the cells in a pressure chamber and we cycle pressure, turn pressure on and off. And in the course of a number of cycles of turning pressure on and off, we can break that cell and release all of those good molecules inside. Think of it like a sponge. Others are breaking the sponge by hammering at it. We're squeezing the sponge. It's a whole new method. We're the only company that I know of in the world that has any patents. We have 15 issued patents. More importantly, or just as importantly, we have over 150, maybe 165 existing customers. We have nearly 300 pressure cycling instruments already in the field. We are selling these systems to research labs around the world. Research labs are going to come up with that next preventive therapy, that next drug, that next vaccine, that next diagnostic, and they need to get to these biomolecules inside the cell, and we believe we have a way to get to them better, faster, with higher quality. We have an exclusive 2-year deal already signed with one of the leading analytical companies in the world, SciEx. They're a 3,000-person company, part of the Danaher Group. They sell instruments all over the world. We sell our instrument to sit in front of theirs and to help prepare the sample before it goes into their system. We can sit in front of other instruments. We can sit in front of pretty much any manufacturer's instrument. But we've signed a 2-year co-marketing deal with some very good colleagues at SciEx. We have developed a new, what we call next generation instrument. We've sold, as I said, close to 300 instruments in the last 7 or 8 years. Most of these are a instrument that was run by a microprocessor. We developed about a year ago, we finished developing a computer-driven instrument and has really changed the instrument. Many, many more bells and whistles. It can give much more information to the research scientist who's breaking up their cells inside the pressure chamber. And therefore, we're very excited about this new, what we call 2320 Extreme instrument. This is an instrument that we've already sold 30. We've made 30. We've sold 30. And we brought on a new ISO certified. That's a special certification that is granted to certain manufacturers that gives it the seal of good housekeeping. So I'm very excited about our new instrument. We have revenue. We did $2 million in revenue in 2016. We've already broken over $1 million in the first half of 2017, and we think the second half will be better than the first half. So we're excited that with one salesperson, limited capital, we've been able to break $2 million in sales. We're hiring a sales team. We've hired 4 full-time salespeople in the last few weeks and months. They're being trained. After Labor Day, these salespeople will be out in the field. We're going to cover the entire U.S. for the first time ever. We're going to have salespeople in the field knocking on doors. So we're excited. If one person can do $2 million in sales in the course of a year, what can 5 people out in the field do? So we're excited about that. And we've already received certain approvals on our new instrument, like CE marking, which allows us to sell this instrument throughout the European Economic Area. The next slide is a slide about my people. I won't spend a lot of time here. Again, please go to the website and learn. Wonderful group of people. The 3 major scientists that have been with me for 11 years, the entire 11 years that we've had this company. Dr. Ting is one of the top high-pressure engineers in the country. Dr. Lazarev is an expert in proteins, and Dr. Lawrence is an expert in nucleic acid. We use pressure to break open cells to release protein nucleic acid. We have 3 people that have been with the company for the entire 11 years that are experts in that field. The board is a wonderful board led by Jeff Peterson. Jeff is the type of chairman everybody needs. He's a chemical engineer from MIT by training, but he's worked at some very big companies, and he's an entrepreneur. And I'm happy to say that recently we've hired a full-time CFO in Joe Damasio. So the team is together. The next slide, slide 6, shows you a cartoon of what happens when a sample is broken. This sample, again, it can be a bacterium, it can be a virus, a fungus, it can be a human cell, an animal cell, it can be cancerous, precancerous, normal, doesn't matter. That cell is made up of thousands of proteins, maybe 1,000 different types of lipids, and of course it'll have some nucleic acid, either DNA or RNA or both. The scientists that are coming up with the new drugs, the new cures, are breaking those cells and to get to all of those biomolecules. Again, we use pulses of pressure, never been done before. It's very safe, even though we go to pressures of up to 100,000 psi. And in the main instrument, the one instrument we have out, the Extreme, it goes to 45,000 pounds per square inch. That's a lot of pressure. It's 3 times the pressure at the bottom of the deepest part of the Pacific Ocean, the Marianas Trench. We get that in a second, in less than a second. But it's very safe, very controllable, because we're compressing water. Our samples, our cells, are put inside consumable test tubes, so it's a razor blade story, and they're put inside the pressure chamber. The lid is put on, and then the computer is told, go to pressurize the water to a certain pressure, 17,000 psi, 22,500. And once it gets there, it can go there immediately. All of the molecules inside that cell will feel the same pressure that the water is pressurized. Water only compresses 6%, so if we let it go, it's not going to explode. It's very safe. But the pressure that the water feels goes through the test tube and into the cell, and if that cell breaks at 17,000, it'll break at 17,000. If it breaks at 25,000, we go to 17, it won't break. If we go to 50, it'll break very quickly, perhaps too quickly. So we can optimize exactly how much pressure and cycles. Remember, we turn pressure on and off, and this sometimes has an amazing effect on how it breaks something, a cell, or a bacterium or a virus, and also sometimes has an amazing effect on the reactions that occur inside the cell. So we are one of a kind. We're developing this technology. If I may have the next slide, slide 7. We are not what you call an analytical instrument. We sit in front of analytical instruments, instruments that companies, hundreds of companies sell throughout the world that give you an answer to how much of a certain thing is in the blood or in the saliva or in some type of a fluid or in a tissue. Something has to sit in front of that analytical instrument to prepare the sample. That's what we do. We are a partner of all of the companies that have these downstream analytical instruments. We're the people up front that we believe can get the protein, the DNA, the RNA out in a better, higher quality, faster manner than what's being done now. The next slide, slide 8, talks about the value proposition. Simply said, that all of the new drugs, pretty much all new drugs, all new medicines, all new preventive strategies, all new vaccines are pretty much coming from the study of of the molecules inside of a cell, the DNA, RNA, protein, and lipids, and other molecules. So they're absolutely essential to get them out and get them out in a high quality manner. Instead of just beating up the cells as we've done for generations, instead of spinning the cells with beads to beat them up or using knife blades to chop them up or propeller blades, we squeeze them and we can determine how many squeezes, how long to squeeze, and how many squeezing cycles to do. We control the process, and in return, we get a much better, a much higher quality, we believe, molecule to be studied. The next slide, which is slide 9, talks about the market. I don't need to spend a lot of time on the market. The market is a multi-billion-dollar market. Every day we hear on the news, someone is studying this, somebody's found this cure or working on a cure. They're studying DNA, RNA, protein, lipids. These are the scientists in the research labs all over the world that can use our process. So the next slide, slide 10, is very exciting for us. Slide 10 shows you the 7 instruments that we have. We have 1 instrument in the field now, 1 salesperson and 1 instrument. That instrument is the 2320 EXT or Extreme in the upper left side of the slide 10 that you're looking at. This instrument goes to 45,000 PSI. It can go to any pressure within 100 psi increments. So it can go to 1100, it can go to 1350, it can go to 22,500, etc. Once we find out what the pressure is for that type of cell, whether it's a cancer cell, heart cell, whether it's a scalp cell from someone that's balding, once we find that out, we can hone in on that and break the cell with reproducibly same way every time. It's just something that's very crucial to scientists around the world. The other 6 instruments, what's interesting is that the 4 in the middle, 2, 3, 4, and 5, these are instruments that are already built. They're ready. They're almost ready to go. There maybe need some tweaking. Maybe it's software, maybe it's hardware, maybe it's both. But they've already been built. We put several $1 million into developing these other instruments. So although we have 1 instrument now with 1 salesperson, over the next 18 months, in the next month, we're going to have 5 salespeople in the field, and over the next 18 months, we're going to have 4 more instruments coming out in the field. They're all based on our patented technology. They're all based on pressure cycling, on turning pressure on and off, but they're slightly different. In some, the chamber is bigger, so it can take more samples or bigger samples. In some of them, they go much higher than 45,000. So there's things like anthrax and other spores and viruses like hepatitis that you have to go to much higher pressure, like 60, 70, 80,000. So these are instruments that are all offshoots of the same technology, but they answer a different issue, and we're looking forward to getting them out on the market. The last one I want to talk about is the bottom right, ultra shear technology. In just a few minutes, I'm going to talk about some very, very interesting and exciting work that we're doing in the ultra shear technology field. The next slide, slide 11, this shows you a close-up of the 1 instrument in the field. On the upper left, on the bottom right, it shows you the consumables. These are small test tubes that we make that are used. So the customer is buying the instrument, and then every cell they break, every cell they study, which could be in the hundreds or the thousands, they need to buy our consumables. The most important thing on this slide is that this instrument and its software is now what we call GXP, GMP or GLP, good laboratory practice or good manufacturing practice compliant. It is open. This is brand new. We spent a year working with one of the biggest multi-billion-dollar companies in the world to get to GMP compliance. Now that we are GMP compliant, our new sales team going out in the field starting after Labor Day is going to be pushing the envelope, going to biopharma companies, because we're GMP compliant, we now can be used in multiple new applications from biopharma companies all over the world. So I'm very excited about this. Slide 12, we're going to skip, and we're going to go to slide 13. This just gives you an idea of the various parts that a biopharma company works in, from discovering biomarkers and targets to validating and building their drugs and QCing the drugs and getting them out. We have clients now in all aspects of this. So it's very exciting that we have this going on. These are our existing clients. The next slide is slide 14. Slide 14 shows a group of key opinion leaders. These are customers that are already using our system. They're world-renowned scientists. They're all important. I'll point out the one on the bottom, Rudy Aebersold. Rudy Aebersold is one of the top protein chemists in the world. Rudy Aebersold is in Switzerland, in Zurich, and he was voted in 2015 the #1 most important protein chemist in the world. And he is a good customer of ours and has published some major papers about our technology. The next slide, slide 16, shows Dr. Phil Robinson. He's in Australia. He's committed to using our systems, and he's committed to testing 70,000 tumor biopsy samples with our system. He's already bought 3 instruments. He may be buying more, and he also has purchased a number of consumables, and will be using a lot of consumables of our product. Slide 16 shows some of the people in these labs that are using. Slide 17 talks about the Cancer Moonshot Initiative, a $2 billion initiative, or $1 billion initiative. This is new money coming into from the government into research in cancer. We're trying to do in the next 5 years what normally might take 10 years, and 30 instruments of our new instrument have been sold. Roughly 15 have gone to Cancer Moonshot Labs. Now I'm going to switch gears in the last couple of minutes of this talk and talk about a different market, not the research market, not science, which we think we have a very big play and a very big role in going forward, but the food. There is a $10 billion market that exists now, and most people are unaware, and this is in clean label food. This isn't food that does not have chemicals added to give it an extended shelf life. If you walk into Starbucks, you can buy their Evolution Juice brand, and you can search all 4 sides of the label. You'll never find any chemical additives, but it still has a very good shelf life once it's open. Why? Because on the very front, it says this sample, this unit of orange juice or apple juice or whatever has been high pressure processed. It's been processed using high pressure. So you can find in the stores now guacamole, shellfish, meats, turkey, ham, baby food. $10 billion market for food that is gotten shelf life from high pressure processing. The issue here is, if there is an issue, is that you can only high pressure process foods that are high in acidic content. So when you get into things like milk and yogurt and mayonnaise, high pressure processing doesn't work well. So if you go to slide 19, the next slide, here we're talking about a pending patent that we have at Pressure BioSciences. We were looking at a new way to break DNA using high pressure shearing DNA into small pieces so it can be tested in the DNA labs. And we're making very good progress there, by the way. But as we did it, we realized, having Dr. Edmund Ting, who was one of the original scientists and engineers that was involved in using high pressure to kill bacteria in food, and he even went to Starbucks in the early years to present this technology from Flow Instruments. Dr. Ting and Dr. Lazarev looked at what they had by shearing DNA and said, this could actually work in the food industry. So when we filed our patent, we filed a number of claims, and these claims say that we believe that this high pressure shearing that we're doing can take high pressure processing from only the high acid foods to the low acid. So we believe that this patent, when issued and if issued, and it is in our name, we own it, and it's throughout the world. We've applied in multiple countries throughout the world. We believe that this might be able to open up this $10 billion market to foods that are not as high in acid and lower in acid, and so many other foods can be high pressure processed. I'm very excited about this in addition to our normal work. I'd like to end now. I'm going to skip slide 20 and go to slide 21, my last slide, and talk about the short-term drivers. Why would one be interested in this company? Well, first of all, I think we're very undervalued. We have 1 million shares outstanding right now, and if all of the debt were to be converted into stock at the price around where it is today, we'd have about 3.5 million shares outstanding in the stock. So it gives the company about a 12 or 14 fully diluted market cap. We think they're very, very undervalued at that price. I've done it 3 times before. I've started 3 companies with over $1 billion, and I'm very involved in this, and I'm committed to this until we make this one a success. And the team has been with me for over 11 years. We have new salespeople coming on board. We'll have 5 salespeople in the field in a matter of a couple of weeks. We have a new instrument that goes way beyond the previous instrument. We brought in some of the top protein and DNA experts in the world that have come and joined us as key opinion leaders using our technology. We have a deal with a with a 3,000-person company. It's one of the best in the world for making an instrument that reads the composition of proteins, and we sit in front of their instrument. We have so many things going for us. So we're very excited about what this year ahead is going to lead for us, the second half of 2017 and beyond. And, of course, in addition, we have the patents, the 2 patents that are filed that we think can take high-pressure processing of food to a new level. I appreciate your time. I really do. I know that everyone's busy, and appreciate you taking time to listen to this. And I'm going to open up the discussion now for questions. Thank you.
Okay, we're now opening the line for our Q&A session with Pressure BioSciences. Ticker symbol is PBIO. And with us today, we have Richard Schumacher, President and CEO. Welcome, Richard.
Thank you. And thanks, everybody, for joining us.
And we'll just jump right into the question. We've had a couple investors that would like to know if you could update on the progress you're making with expanding your sales and marketing efforts.
Well, we have hired 4 full-time and 2 half-time employees, so therefore we basically have 5 full-time employees now that are new in sales and marketing. And these are 5 people that will be out in the field. They've all got very good background in the capital in the capital equipment sales. They've got a good science background. They've got experience in selling, and so we're excited about them. And as I mentioned in the conference call just 2 weeks ago, after our second quarter numbers, we've actually already received 2 purchase orders from one each from each of 2 of our new salespeople. So we're excited about this. It's a little bit faster than I expected. But again, we've been hiring people, or we've hired people that have experience in the field. So I guess I shouldn't be too surprised when you get good people and they've got experience and they're chomping at the bit to get out. We are training them, and as I've mentioned at the time 2 weeks ago, we plan to have them out very much in the field after Labor Day, just another week.
Very good. Thanks for that update. And our next question, it's regarding your BioCycler Extreme, the next-gen platform that you put together. Can you talk about how many units have been pre-sold overall and what your production schedule might look like for the remainder of the year?
Well, not pre-sold, but sold. We had 30 units built, and we sold 28, and the other 2 are being used in our lab and in a lab across in the Pacific coast for demonstrations. So every one of the 30 units that have been built through the end of July have been either sold or are being used. We now have others that are being delivered. I think I've mentioned this before, but I think it's worthwhile going through it again. We switched last year to a local manufacturer of our instrument. This local manufacturer has all of the right certifications, the ISO 9001 and the other certifications. It took a good several months just to get going with the first couple of instruments. Then it took several months to get the next half dozen made. They had to build a dossier of, they told us, 400 pages. But they know what they're doing. They build equipment for some very large equipment manufacturers from around the country, and we're very happy. And they're only 15 minutes from us. So it works out very well. When there's ever any issues, any discussions, and we want to have an update, we can drive there in 15 minutes and meet them eyeball to eyeball. So I often get, a question, what happens if you get a very large order? And I said 6 months ago, we'd have to back order those orders because we didn't have the capability to build them. Now we have capabilities we didn't have 6 months ago. These guys can build up to 4 instruments in a week if need be, whereas it took them a month to build the first instrument a year ago. So capability, ability to build instruments is no longer an issue. They have all the right certification. Paul, they got us our CE mark, helped get us our CE marking in I consider record time, 8 months. So I'm very, very happy with the new manufacturing facility, which is, again, the next town over, 15 minutes from here.
Very good. Thank you, Richard. And now we have actually a couple questions from a few investors regarding the relationship with SciEx. You had announced a co-marketing deal with them previously. Is there any updates you can provide on that and how long that agreement is in place for?
The agreement is in place until the end of the year, so we've got another 5 months to go. It goes until basically January 12th. The agreement was signed initially as a 2-year deal. It was agreed to by both them and us that a 2-year deal might be good to start. We are going to be talking with them after Labor Day to see whether or not we should continue, expand it, maybe extend it, all of those things. We're very happy with what's happened to date. I can tell you that Dr. Lazarev, our head of R&D, is going to Germany in about 3 weeks, middle of September, to present at a European-based discussion group with it's being sponsored by SciEx, and there'll be SciEx representatives from all over Europe that will be attending, and we've been invited to present on the new instrumentation, as well as in general what Pressure Bio does for protein extraction. So happy that Dr. Lazarev will be there for that talk. He'll be there for about 3 days. We got information today from a very large part of SciEx in Asia that wants to start working with us with the 2320 Extreme. So they asked for a lot of information about the 2320 Extreme. So I continue to say it's taken longer than what we would have liked, being a little company of 9 people. Now we're at 15 with our new salespeople. But it is moving. It's moving along in the right direction. We've sold 30 instruments, and half of them have gone to cancer moonshot customers, and many of these are customers of SciEx. Some of them have come directly from SciEx. Some of them have come indirectly because they were SciEx and they were given marketing material from SciEx about the 2320 Extreme. So overall, I'd say the report card is a very good report card in the first year and a half of working with SciEx, and we'll have to see what happens over the next 6 months. There are opportunities out there to expand the collaboration and the marketing collaboration with them, and we're going to be talking with them, as I said, after Labor Day.
Very good. Thank you, Richard. And we have just a brief couple minutes left, and I think you've pretty much covered it here in the Q&A and the presentation, but I guess just in a summary, what's the key takeaway for investors about Pressure BioSciences?
Well, a lot has changed in the last year, and a lot, and much of it, if not all of it, is good. We have a new instrument, the 2320 Extreme, which has bells and whistles that are important bells and whistles that never existed in our prior instrument. So we're very excited about the 2320 Extreme. It has output, which the previous 2320 did not have, so the customer is able to download everything that the machine did over the period of time that they were running the samples with it. So this is opening up a whole new world to us. The biopharma companies that are developing drugs can now use this instrument from the very beginning of discovery of biomarkers to validating them, to building the drugs, and then to quality controlling them before they go out into the market. So we've got a new sales team. We have 4 full-time and 2 half-time people, called 5 FTEs, 5 full-time equivalents, out in the field, out after Labor Day. They'll be knocking on doors. We've never done this before. They're going to be knocking on multiple doors with a brand new instrument with the ability to get back to them very quickly. We have a new contract manufacturer that has spent a year and gone from building an instrument in a month and a half to building 4 instruments a week, if that's what we need. So all of these things are good. We have new applications and new accessories to this equipment. All of that bodes, I think, very well for this company. And I've already said 2 weeks ago at our conference call after the second quarter numbers that we had already had the best first 45 days of any quarter this company's ever had in its history, and we were thinking that this could easily be a record quarter in sales for us. And this is just the beginning. This is just the very beginning of our new salespeople and our new instrument being out in the field. All of that is extremely well. But, Paul, I wouldn't be doing justice if I didn't say that in addition to that, we announced for the first time at the conference call that we have a patent filed in the area of safe food processing. If you go to Starbucks, you can go to the Evolution juice line and see that there's no preservatives in their juice. It says right in the front, high pressure processed. They're not using our material, our patents. But what they're doing is a couple of things. One, they're proving that high pressure can in fact be used in multiple different areas, not just in the small volume area of science. Number 2, our head of engineering, Dr. Edmund Ting, helped bring about that whole processing of food to make it safer, killing and lowering bacterial levels so you don't have to use preservatives, which is what Starbucks is doing. He visited Starbucks 15 years ago with this process. Number 3, we filed a patent. We filed a patent 18 to 20 months ago to take that method of high pressure processing further. and we've just announced it in the last couple of weeks that this patent is marching its way through. No guarantee we'll get it. No guarantee if we get it issued in all the countries that it can actually take it further, but we believe it will be issued. We believe it can take high-pressure processing of food further and take it into areas that current high-pressure processing, $10 billion market, isn't even in. So in addition to the biopharmaceutical area, in addition to everything we're doing in that area, we have a patent that takes us into food processing that if that's issued, we're looking at licensing this to some very big companies.
Very good. A lot of exciting things, Richard. And for our viewers, we were just talking with Richard Schumacher, President and CEO of Pressure BioSciences. Ticker symbol is PBIO. You can sign up for news alerts right here at RedChip.com with all the things in the pipeline there. A great way to stay abreast of the developments as they happen. You'll be one of the first to get the news if you sign up for those news alerts.